Heathen Talk episode 19. If you'll notice, the title says Heathen Media. That's a bit of a lie. We're not talking about that tonight. But we're going to get to that later. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Apologize that Chuck is not here. He got called into work, and his job is pretty important, so he couldn't ditch out and join us for Drunken Debauchery. I want to remind you can always find us on Facebook at facebook.com/heathentalk. We've got our own website, heathentalk.com. If you want to talk to us, message us on Facebook or shoot us an email at heathen.talk.podcast@gmail.com. Tweet at Lauren at @heathen_talk. I'm sure you can find other members of the Heathen Talk cast on Twitter as well.
Oh yeah, or you can rent. I got an email this week. I'm so not kidding, from someone, and I'm still not sure how they found my personal email address. But thank you for the lovely email. I really appreciate it. I will respond tonight.
So there you go. If you want to help out the show, please go to our T-Chip and buy yourself a kickin' shirt. I'm not wearing mine tonight. Sorry. But it's tchip.com/heathentalk. We also have a mug, which I think is, Heathen Mug? Something like that?
Yes, HT Mug. We have kid-size shirts at HT Kids, and ladies, HT Ladies. We have a nice, awesome ladies with a very small one-color logo in a nice ladies fit shirt in honor of the episode we did a few weeks ago. So
basically, your whole family can have Heathen Talk swag, and they don't even need to be heathen to wear it, so go buy it. Or, if you're feeling particularly generous, you can donate to us at patreon.com/heathentalk. I'm still figuring out how to work the thing and make sure everybody who donates is updated. I apologize at my ineptness. But, again, certain donation gets you an audio copy of the Havamal. There's opportunity to advertise, message us first. And in general, we're just thrilled to be doing this for all of you guys and hopefully entertaining you on a weekly basis. So, that said, Lauren, who are we toasting tonight?
You were supposed to do the toast tonight, I thought. We're together. I was doing the contest.
Oh,
yeah.
Well then.
I know who we're toasting. But we are toasting the pioneers of good heathen podcasting, probably the one podcast that all of us can say influenced in one way or another.
Except for Torin.
Except for Torin. But Torin's not here, so.
Not yet. But, so anyway.
Yeah. So to our friends at Raven Radio, who we adore and are very happy to see getting back into the swing of things. Hail.
Hail.
So what are y'all drinking?
What you drinking, Toby?
I am drinking Electric Warrior Stout from Woodland Empire, one of my favorite breweries here in Boise, Idaho. It's an oatmeal stout. It's delicious, and you should feel sad that you don't get any, unless you live in the Northwest.
See, but I don't, because I'm drinking Oakshire's Overcast Espresso Stout, and it's delicious, and it's brewed right here in Eugene, so I win.
Nothing. You win nothing.
And we have Mark here with us, our producer, who's going to be with us till Torin is able to join us. What you drinking tonight?
I'm working my way through a bottle of Perini Negro Amaro red wine. I like to go to the liquor store and try new things, and I grabbed it and kind of regret it, but I'm stubborn, so it will be gone.
And I am my favorite Woodchuck Gumption, mainly because it's seasonal and I wanted to get some more. And I was too poor to buy they had some like flying salmon hard cider or something, and it looked good, but it was $3 a bottle, and I am a poor college student, so.
So Toby, I was thinking about it, and these two, Lauren drinks her ciders, Mark's got his wines, but I don't think either of them realize that the best ciders and wines are made over here.
That is true. Unfortunately, it is true. Although I will give proper deference to California for their wines, and I am actually quite enamored with Australian wines at the moment. But my
Oregon wines are delicious.
Have
They
any,
are.
Kickin' wine.
have any of you guys ever had muscadine wine?
I'm gonna take
Honey.
that as a yes.
Honey child, I grew up in the South. Of course, I've had some muscadine wine.
Because I'm just going to say Whitaker Wineries in Arkansas makes the best muscadine wine.
No, muscadine wine is like mead. You have to have it from some sketchy, overall-clad, horny-toed, scary dude with like one Popeye staring at you with overdeveloped forearms and a bathtub that he brewed it in.
I don't know where you're getting your mead, but mine doesn't come from anything
From
like that.
Torrin, probably. I mean,
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of, since
Yeast
we're,
tinctures and
since we're kind of on this random night, I went to the liquor store Saturday night, which was my first mistake, and I looked at their selection of mead, and it was very depressing.
did they have Blue Dog?
No, but what they did have were 3 different flavors of Chaucers.
I was just gonna ask if it was all Chaucers.
Well, they had whatever the brand is that's the Viking's Blood and all that, which is like
I've
$30.
never tried the Viking's Blood.
It's good. It's really good.
But it's $30 a bottle. Once
I gotta
again,
go hometown for mead. I'm sorry, Helderberg Mead Works.
poor cheap. And then there were a bunch of South African meads, which I've had and are pretty good.
They do a chili mead that's like, I don't like pepper beers, or I don't like spicy beers, but the chili meads are something phenomenal.
I actually enjoy pepper beers if they're done well. The issue is they're rarely done well.
I bet that I have had the weirdest flavor of mead though of all of you. Vidalia onion.
Ooh.
That is odd. Anyway, moving on.
Great for cooking.
No, I'm still thinking about this.
Great for
You
cooking.
think all you want,
I
Lauren.
don't
You
care
have
for
an
onion,
announcement.
therefore no.
That was cooked up by our guest last week, Ben, back when he was in his home brewing phase.
I'm planning on making coffee mead. And
had
I'm
that.
going to take it like a hipster step further, and I'm going to make it with Valhalla Java Odin Force blend coffee. So it's going to be super Viking juice.
Super Viking juice.
Yeah. I'm going to send it to certain individuals.
I have a special hat with which to judge you.
That kind of brings us up to one of the topics that we were going to talk about in our cornucopia.
That would be the
topics.
winner here.
And that would be, well, besides this, we do have a winner of our book, 6 Sagas of Adventure. We are going to be sending that out. I'll get that information. It'll be next week. I'm sorry, but you need to get us your information. So Alex Houghton, our winner, if you will message the page or message one of us, or if you're on Reddit, message us on Reddit so we can get your address so we can get that shipped out to you. I would greatly appreciate it, and you will get your copy of 6 Sagas of Adventure.
Yay, winners.
Yay!
We like to give free stuff away, so you should listen just in case we decide to give you something.
Also, if you are like a Heathen author or anything else, you want to promote your stuff and give away something, come talk to us.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
So before I interrupted you and made you do a thing,
Yeah.
what were you going to talk about?
I was going to talk about, because we were talking about this in pre-show, and tonight is kind of a cornucopia of topics. So
that would be because Chuck couldn't be here.
Exactly, and it's
But we're going to get him back on. I want
Exactly.
everybody to know he will be on the show.
so we were going to discuss, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was a topic that has kind of come up a few places, but it's kind of controversial, kind of. I think we all pretty much agree on it, but I still think in the greater Heathen community it's controversial. I'm talking about online heathenry. And I'm not talking about like Facebook groups where you talk about heathenry or Reddit. I'm talking about completely online kindreds or tribes or whatever you want to call it. I'm talking about online bloat. And the Toby, how did you put it earlier? The Viking, no, the Viking Brositru cult of toxic masculinity or something like that. I don't know.
That was Josh.
Josh, I'm sorry.
That's Josh's stuff.
What am I talking about?
Brositru.
We were going to go with your topic first, so go for it.
I was trying to remember. I was trying to quote you accurately. So, honestly, guys, I get the thought process behind wanting to have online heathenry. Because a lot of people do feel isolated. I mean, hell's bells, I live in Arkansas. A lot of people may have social phobias. I get the mindset. But in practice, it just doesn't work at all. Like, I just want to go, I want to go all Morbo and go, heathenry does not work that way. But anyway.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. It is. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll break the seal on this one. It is completely fucktarded. It is absolutely dumb. It is a curb this tall. In order to do heathenry, you have to do heathenry face to face in a specific point in space time. To be really nerdy about it. In a specific place, in a specific time, you and at least one other person, but preferably multiple people, have to be together for the purposes of worship and fellowship. Otherwise, you are doing it wrong. And I am the boss of you.
So, I'm going to disagree a little bit here. There are people who really are isolated, and they very much can be heathens without immediate access to another person, but that doesn't change the fact that the online bloat is not a valid way to connect with the divine.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Josh on that part. I think that most definitely you can be heathen and not necessarily have other heathens in which you're connecting with, so long as you're connecting with your wider community and you're not living in the woods like the Unabomber. But I mean, I want to quote this from Reddit because this is one of the funniest things I've read all week. This is from a quote from R-Thorium. You can't Skype a bloat. What's going on with them? Next week we have conflicting schedules, so let's email our rituals and call it a day. I mean, there really has to be...
Well, okay, so before we get any further, there's only one person in the room at the moment who doesn't have a tribe. Mark, give us your opinion here.
Yo, I agree the fact that the ritual aspects of heathenry cannot be performed online. And my personal opinion is that I would rather just keep to a household practice and not try. But that's because I get weird and whatever. I do know that some people have applied it in virtual worlds like Second Life, not endorsing them. But I don't necessarily agree with it.
Well, I can speak to the Second Life thing, having attended Wilsonstein Theological Seminary, which is pretty much done in Second Life, and they do have, although it is a Wiccan seminary, go ahead and judge amongst yourselves. They do rituals online, and I never got it. Like, it never... Yes, they were pretty, and it was fun, and you could wear cool costumes, but there was always something there was also a missing piece for me that other people got, and
I have a problem when it comes to kind of seamlessly integrating that aspect of my life. I've written on my personal blog issues about things like, dress and ritual, which I can only speak from as an observer because I don't have a group, I don't have a tribe, I'm not affiliated with anyone. I call myself an unaffiliated heathen. To me, anything that makes me feel like it's not in line with my life, like it's separate from my life, it has a mental block for me. And being virtual, being online is one of those blocks where it just isn't me.
Well, there's also the simple fact that at a certain point when you're doing things online, whether it's through Second Life or whatever, you've stopped doing ritual and you've started playing a video game. You're role-playing heathenry.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me. I'm not going to back away from my earlier statement. I do think, first of all, I think it's impossible to have a identifiable ritual without at least 3 individuals. There's it's an insight that I've recently come to and requires way more time than we would have for this segment. But I will say that based on my understanding that it takes at least 3 people to make a ritual happen. That said, I don't think it's impossible to be heathen alone and by yourself. You can maintain your ancestor cult. You can maintain your house cult. You can rely on others to maintain the tribal cult on your behalf. But you still have to have those face-to-face interactions. It is impossible to have a relationship, a functioning, healthy, long-term relationship without some sort of reality. And when we get down to it, when we get down to the concept of Dunbar's number, which I've harped on the sub multiple times, I beat that drum until the horse died next to me, and then beat that horse. But it's impossible to grant humanity to a person that you actually meet every day if you don't know who they are and what their motivations are, or where they come from, who their people are. If they're just a face in a crowd, it doesn't matter that you've known them every day. They're not human to you. They're just scenery. So I think it's absolutely impossible unless you actually know what that person is like and know what the space that they occupy and how they sound when they talk, and the little things like the sound of their breath or the sound of their life or laugh. Those things absolutely must be included in your relationship with them for it to be true and real.
Well, I think that just extends to human relationships in general. Like, there are people on the subreddit and on Facebook that I've never met in real life, and I've never even conversed with. Like, never like this even. And yeah, they're people, they're real, but they're so disconnected with me that there's no connection there really.
But I would argue with some of what Toby's saying that I have, I consider that I have pretty decent friendships with all of you. I've never met any of you face to face, but yet we converse quite frequently. That being said, it's more than just close friends. That was my point. When it comes to people that you are within your tribe, I mean, I like all of you, but I don't like all of you enough to be willing to tie my luck to you at this point in time. Things could change in the future. Get to know you better actually face to face. So I don't want to discount the intimacy that you can actually build online, but at the same time, it's not enough.
No, it's not. And I think the intimacy that you build online can be the basis for a very strong relationship. There are people that I have known for 20 years that when I first met them in real life 20 years later, we got on like a house on fire. We had a shared history. We had all this. But I really wouldn't have considered them. I consider them a friend right now. But honestly can't consider them a friend until that moment where that we connected on a real level. And the potential is there. Like Lauren, I am very friendly with you. I do consider you to be a potential friend, and I think that when you come out to Cascadian Moot is in a couple of months. You should sign up and
It's
register.
more than a couple of months. It's in May.
It is in May. Hey, but you can go to our what site are we using?
Indiegogo.
GoFundMe.
Oh yeah, GoFundMe.
Our GoFundMe page and help get Cascadia Moot going. Details are on our Facebook, Heathen Talk, Facebook.com/Heathen Talk. Warren knows English.
In any case,
So-
I do think that the potential is there, and that the relationship that we've developed over the past couple of months can lay the groundwork for a very deep friendship. But that isn't solidified. It's like it's not real until there's an action that's in the well.
And see, for me, I would have to disagree with you. And to be
before we
fair,
get
Toby,
too
I
caught
don't.
up in disagreeing.
Yeah.
I had a good point.
No, please go ahead.
I also think though that I would disagree that there is action, because we as a group have come together and put forth actual action in putting together this podcast and putting something out there as a, for a lack of a better word, gift to the greater Heathen community. I do think there is action. Like I said, we're going to have to disagree, and I think a lot of that just comes from, as much as I hate to say this, I think it also may be some gender and thoughts about how different genders identify friendships, and so yeah, more complicated than I want to get into.
No, but you've got actually a really good point, and I think it's fair to make that to step back and say, okay, that's a fair point. I don't agree with it, but I do accept its validity, and I think at that point we're just going to have to table that until.
Yep.
So, now that we've thoroughly disagreed with each other, let's do it again.
Yay!
I wanted to briefly touch on, and I know this is one that's close to most of our warm, fuzzy hearts, politics. The topic has come up, and I know that, if you know me from the subreddit, my username is anarcho-heathen. If you know me from Facebook, you know that I'm not shy about having anarchist tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
If you know me in real life, you'll know that I'm fairly, well, I call myself a small L libertarian, and I've explained in great detail as to what that is. So, but when it comes to heathenry, it doesn't. I leave my politics at the door when I come to talk about heathenry and to practice my religion. And I think it's really important that we start to strip our political identities away when we come into this particular arena to discuss things that are already going to be tense, and you're already going to have passions really inflamed over. You should probably leave something as divisive as politics at the door.
But Josh, how can you leave that at the door when at the same time things that to me are fundamental to my heathenry are also current political topics? Things like LBGT plus Q, whatever, rights. I'm drinking tonight, guys. It's great. Also, things, there's just so many things that I think wrap into what is important to me as a heathen, what is important to my kin, my tribe, that it's hard for me to completely separate out. I agree as far as partisanship. I'm not going to tell someone who believes differently than me, I can't heathen with you. But at the same time, there are political aspects of heathenry that I don't think that I'm going to, I'll say it, race. I will not raise a horn with a racist. Sorry. Just straight out, flat out. There you go. That's a line I draw. And so it comes to things like that where I'm going to have to, I mean, there's going to have to be some politics in our heathenry, because politics are so wrapped up in our daily existence, and what we believe morally comes from heathenry to a great degree, which is also wrapped up in how we believe politically.
Well, for my part at least, I think when it comes to my politics, I noticed that as I started really internalizing and putting on a heathen worldview, and it's not something I've completed or, will ever complete. I will work at it for the rest of my life. But the more and more I fall into a heathen mindset, the more and more I find that my heathenry gets in my politics and changes it. And that comes from, thinking critically about the sources and about my own personal UPG is a bit redundant. But as I think critically about these things, they change quite literally the way I think about the world, and that can't help but impact the way I think about the political realm as well. But I still leave the anger and the passion that I have politically towards certain systems at the door when I come into a Facebook group or a subreddit, or even go and meet people at the bar. I'm not going to sit there and talk to people about how they should, distrust capitalism and become mutualists and live in a commune and never wear shoes again because shoes are evil.
But
that just doesn't come up.
Crocs especially.
This is why Mark and I aren't friends. I love my Crocs. You can take them from my cold dead body.
Yeah, but you're from Arkansas, so it makes sense.
Well, true.
Someone else's vineyard.
You guys are lucky I wear shoes at all.
So, I come at it from the position that our political structure is a subversion and a manipulation of the tribal instinct. That all human beings, white, black, whatever, gay, straight, whatever, have this instinct.
Other kin.
Those guys are weird.
Hey, I identify as Germanic kin, please.
Anyhow.
Moving on. That a lot of the passion and the problems with our current quote unquote political structure has to do with the subversion of that tribal instinct in order to perpetuate and implement the elite's own power. I think that a proper tribal instinct, there are things about the people in my tribe that I don't agree with. My personal political travels, whatever they may be, have changed over time, and I'm in a place where I'm largely disengaged from the political structure, and I largely want nothing to do with it, and that's a deliberate act on my part. But there are people that are very active in it, but they're my tribe, and I love them regardless. And this comes down to the concepts of family and frith. That my father, for example, is exceedingly conservative and exceedingly Catholic. But he is my father, and I love him. And I will always love him, in spite of the fact that I absolutely disagree with his stances on, say, gay marriage, for example. Even while I may have an emotional attachment to some of his positions, simply because I grew up in that situation and that's normal to me, the thought processes I've gone through to say, well, I don't care if that's uncomfortable to me, you still should be able to do that. That forms the core of my political identity. And my father doesn't always share that. But he's my father. And he will always be a part of my tribe. And he will always be part of who I am. And and for me, the politics ends at the family door. And when my dad brings up the politics, I literally roll my eyes and say, we're not talking about it.
Preach. That's exactly, I am, it's no secret to anybody who talks to me for more than about 2 minutes that I am probably the progressive of of most heathen groups. Though oddly enough, I would say a good majority of kind of my tribe were all kind of on the same wavelength. But at the same time, I worked in conservative talk radio for 5 years. I have been on all ends of the spectrum. I've seen a lot of perspectives, and kind of like Toby, I disengaged from politics for a few years, mainly because no one was paying me to think about it. It's kind of how I feel about football. No one's paying me to like football anymore, so I don't really care. That being said, I think that from my heathenry, the heathenry has shaped my political beliefs in one very important way, and that is I want to better my geographical community, because bettering my geographical community is, statistically better for my tribe. How to better that geographical community is totally going to be different to every person, but part of that is voting. National elections, not so much. They don't really mean crap, because, but as far as my local elections, when it comes to school board elections and millage elections, and that may be, a southern thing, but the point being, I'm going to vote in those elections because that's the funding for the schools, and those are the people who are going to be, my doctors and when I'm in the nursing home, or the cashiers that are going to be counting my change at Kroger. So,
or the meth head who shanks you on the way out of the grocery store. I mean,
no, we have cops at our grocery stores, so not as big a problem around here.
If you have cops at your grocery store, I argue that in fact you do have a big problem there.
No, my opinion on the cops in grocery stores is it's kind of a shakedown, but that's a whole other story. Because they get paid basically by the grocery store. But the point of my point of view is, I think political engagement on a personal level, and I'm not necessarily talking about campaigning and this, that, and the other, but I'm talking about being informed and participating, especially on a local level, is super important, because that is, more than anything else, what is going to directly affect you and your tribe. And
I'd agree with that.
So that, to me, has become super important.
I can see how that would be important. I think, though, that the leaving your political passions at the door is much more a way, for instance, with Toby's example, it's a way of maintaining a functional relationship with the people you're around. If I got into political arguments every time my tribe got together, we'd never get around to a ritual. So we just tend not to go there when there's a disagreement.
I can see that. Whereas I guess with mine, to a great degree, we one of the things that kind of binds us together is our agreement of being, because we're kind of weird in Arkansas anyway. That kind of, we can have these discussions and pretty much agree. But that being said, then becomes the issue of the problem with an echo chamber, which oddly enough is kind of another online heathenry issue that I have seen, and that lots of groups get accused of, is basically becoming the echo chamber, becoming everyone toes the party line, whereas, I know that on Reddit we get accused of that when it comes to tribalism.
And I just look at it as settled topic. I mean, we agree. Yeah. The science is settled.
We're right. That's the problem.
Look, there's plenty of things I disagree with Josh and Torin and other people, and there's plenty of things I disagree with. I completely disagree with Lauren on many, many topics, but at the same time, it's kind of, you just watched an example of that. All right. Yeah. We've taken this conversation to the end of where it's going to be productive. We both recognize that it is going to just sit around and go in circles now. So we're just going to let that go and find something else to bitch about.
So guys, do we want to take a topic suggestion from the IRC? Because it's kind of one that I think would be funny and interesting.
Sure, go for it.
Volknut tattoos. AKA, oh, look at me, I'm taking the insert spear here mark, or the Odin owns me mark, which was totally like what everyone said back in 2003.
Yeah, Torrin's going to be very upset that we're having this conversation and he's not here.
Oh,
Well, he's on vacation.
Mm.
Yeah.
when he gets here, he can drag it out of the corpse of the horse we're about to beat to death with it. So
I just want to say for the record, he's in Key West. So I have no sympathy. None whatsoever.
I do.
I
Key West
totally
is a savage land, and you shouldn't spend any more time there than you have to.
It's surrounded by this giant mass of hungry water that wants to eat you.
It's not even the water. There's no mountains, and the trees are funny, and
It's all about
gross.
the water. It's all about the water.
But they instead of dropping a ball on New Year's Eve, they drop a giant high heel with a drag queen in it. How can you go wrong?
Yeah, but I can convince Portland to do that, and
Yeah.
we do it better.
All you really wouldn't convince Portland to do it so much as to say that East Oregon would not like it and they do it. That's not really convincing someone so much as like pulling a lever.
Okay, so back to the Volknut tattoos, because this was asked of us, and this can seg us into that whole warrior culture topic too that we had discussed earlier. So
Well-
2003, 2004. I'm married to big rah Viking guy. Yeah. Anyway, he wants to get a Volknut tattoo because he is all raw Odin. I want Odin to take me and go to Valhalla. 2004 that this discussion was happening, and everyone was like, yeah, that's what it is, blah, blah, blah. And I love how much things have changed in like 11 years.
The thing that the ancient heathen culture is so full of really cool pictograms and images and medallions and just really neat art. And we picked the Volknut. It's 3 triangles, kids. It's like, don't get me wrong, I get it. It's maybe a religious thing. You know, we see it on stones associated with Odin. I get it. But have you seen the other stuff that's out there?
The Volknut is a rather cheap tattoo compared to some of the other ones, given how simple it is.
Well, I mean, I've shared it on the subreddit. I've got a giant raven clutching a hammer on my arm. That wasn't a cheap tattoo, but I guarantee it's cooler than your Volknut. And if we get tattoos, it's because they're cool. I get tattoos because they mean something? Sure, but you make sure they look cool.
Hey, my tattoo is more meaningful than looking cool, so... But, it looks cool to me because it's my grandparents' signature. And I don't care what other people think.
But, again, the simple fact of the matter is we don't know a lot about the Volknut. We just don't. It's on a couple of stones. We know it's associated with Odin, who's associated with death. But in my opinion, it was probably something just pretty simple to carve out. It's, 9 straight lines?
As someone with no artistic talent, I am all about things that are easy to carve and or draw. You can draw that with a ruler. That's my kind of thing.
Toby knows more scholarly stuff than I do, though, and I'm sure he's about to disagree with me.
No. When it comes down to the Volknut tattoo, let me put it this way. The people that I have met in my life that have Volknut tattoos have, with a few exceptions, been invariably people that I just... You've got a Volknut tattoo. Thank you. I needed a label for you. You are now slotted into that category of dudes with Volknut tattoos.
So you've met my ex-husband.
It fits like a category that by and large, and there are notable exceptions, by and large fits a particular kind of person. And then I'm like, oh, you're a dude with a Volknut tattoo. I bet you have a T-shirt that was advertised by a copyright infringing advertisement featuring Travis Flamel from Vikings. I bet you
I have one of those T-shirts, and I love it.
Wait, hold on a second. The Judgment Hat.
My T-shirt is awesome.
I was going to
have
say,
two of them, actually.
I bet you would unironically wear a Three Wolf Moon T-shirt.
I probably would.
Because I meant the person with the felt knot tattoo, but yeah.
I'm weird, and I'm unashamed of what I like. And sometimes...
Yeah, but I think you'd wear it ironically.
I'm not that much of a hipster, am I?
Eugenian. You're not that much of a hipster, but you are very Eugenian. Which is like 85% hipster.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I guess there's also kind of, Savage Lands versus being out in Cascadia. Or as I like to put it, being in the real world versus being in hipster land. There is this, the people who wear those kind of shirts are also the same kind of people who drink Mad Dog 2020 and possibly
Can we not talk about malt liquor?
drink malt liquor and have possibly also done meth.
That I disagree with you
Also.
there. I have
Possibly.
one of my best and oldest friends, a man that I dearly, dearly love and would die for, and is a total asa bro. Total asa bro. Just a complete and utter buys into that, and this is our segue. Buys into that warrior mentality, like we don't kneel before our gods, and honestly, for the sake of our relationship, I don't discuss religion with him. I love the man dearly. He has been a guest in my home and is always welcome in my home. I love him. I love his wife. I love everything about his family. I call his mother Mom. Total asa bro.
Asa bro, or as we have called them, brosa true. Dude brosa true, I've also heard. Viking true. What other labels have there been? For the females, there's also the what was it?
Barbie.
Shield Barbie, yeah. I can't remember the other one, but yeah.
Brawlhalla
There's
Barbie.
something I really want to come out just right out the gate and say.
Oh, that's a great one.
On the sub, we've been accused of hating the warrior part of Asatru or heathenry. I've been accused of it on many forums and even in real life. And the simple fact of the matter is, I don't. I care about that part of things so much that I'm willing to fight to protect it from assholes.
Yes.
You don't get to claim to be a warrior without being a warrior, and just because you lift heavy weights and have a Vulcanite tattoo on your pectorals doesn't make you a warrior. It makes you an asshole.
And the same thing goes. Same thing goes for
Who
people.
aren't.
I mean, the same thing goes for, and this is a particular person I'm thinking about. He knows who he is, who became heathen, or also true back then, as we say it in Arkansas. Who, because it's basically was the only religion that would validize his alcoholism. You don't. That whole Viking warrior mentality is great for those who legitimately are warriors, but 90% of the people who embrace it, I hate to quote a meme, another meme, but
No, you don't. Don't
no,
lie.
I really don't. But I mean, the whole idea of fighting cancer or whatever, yeah, it's great that you've had that. Some people would call me a warrior because of my ordeal with blindness, but I'm not. And I would never claim it because I am too cowardly and too lazy to be a warrior. Let's just call a spade a spade. And so, not everyone's going to be a warrior, and not everyone should be. And that's fine, but don't make heathenry like that's all it is.
This is actually something that Josh and I have argued about multiple times. I come from
You
the
and I
position.
argue?
Never. Um, Josh is a proponent of having a conversation about masculinity, and I have long come from the position that if you're having a conversation about masculinity, you've already given up and you lost. Because masculinity is something that isn't talked about. It's demonstrated. I
I'm gonna let you finish before I start disagreeing with you.
I'm gonna let you. He's gonna let you finish before he drops the mic.
Thank you, Kanye. Um, I come from the position that the true warrior never. A true warrior is somebody that I have met that loves the peacetime, the hall joys. The men that I have found that I have said, yes, this man is a warrior. This man is one of the best heathens I've ever met. Do you know what he talks about when we talk about heathenry? He talks about the hall. He talks about peace. He talks about those moments because for him, it is the interspaced moments between conflict, and it is the portion that is protected and emphasized. The people that talk about the warrior mentality, the people that talk about, oh, I'm a warrior, they are looking for that exotic moment to latch onto and say these are the emphasis moments because I've never experienced them and they're important, so I'm going to run 3 flights of stairs to my apartment, to quote somebody from the IRC.
Well,
That's Foos.
so I don't disagree with you on that last bit, and it's, but I think there's also a place for. I think what you're talking about is a seasoned warrior, someone who's, to quote one of my favorite books, seen the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
There is a place for the young warrior, the impetuous warrior who is new to that and has experienced it, but not really felt the mortality of it.
And we have Torin with us now.
You do.
That
And
is an
he's-
amazing shirt.
It really is.
Isn't it? Did you see the hat that went with it?
Yes.
I'm
You should
actually
put it back
loving.
on.
I'm loving the purple dragon in the back. Oh my goodness, he's gone native. He has gone native. That's it. Say goodbye, everybody. He's gonna get a charter boat and he's gonna fish for dolphin.
Oh, fuck no.
Can't wait to get back to the real world, can you?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Permits too expensive to hunt for dolphin.
So, Torin, we're talking about the warrior culture. And
I was gathering a little bit, yeah.
before you came in, I said that it's not that we dislike warriors, it's that we value them so much that we're protecting them from assholes.
Right.
And it's been it's a topic we've beaten to death interpersonally, but there is a contingent, and it to me it's gaining steam, and Toby just left so he can't defend himself. But what do you think about the fact that there is this emphasis in certain corners on being super macho men and being warriors all the time, and everyone is a warrior, and you should always train to be a warrior, and
Macho man.
Well, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. And let me clarify that, obviously. There's a place for warriors, but not everybody is one. And you don't need to be one to be a heathen. The idea that you do is just more of the romantic era bullshit that has fed into certain elements of heathenry. Right along with the quaffing of the mead and the horned helmets. Now, is there a place for the warrior in our culture? Obviously. It needs to be there. Your people need to be protected. We have, our military heathens, which are obviously amongst the warrior class of heathens. At least the ones that actually deploy and do things, that don't just train with the gun, but actually have to fire one in anger. But the idea that everybody has to be a warrior to be a heathen is absolutely ridiculous.
And just from a logistical point of view, you need to be a warrior. Okay, that's great and all. Who's going to grow the crops? Who's going to feed all these warriors? Who's going to make their swords? Who's going to make their clothes?
Okay, I mean, if you're going to go back to the concept of, looking at our cultural past, I guess, for lack of a better term, the sort of cultures that the arch-heathens lived in, you're not looking at the concept of a standing army versus a civilian population. You're looking at the concept of everybody being capable of defending what they have.
But there's lots of people who want to go into it as in everyone, but some people justify theirs by saying, well, everyone was a warrior, when that's just not true.
Not everyone is a warrior, but to a certain extent, everybody who was capable was a fighter. If that makes that distinction.
Therein lies a big difference. If it comes down to it, I will spend my life to defend my family and my home.
Well, I think the question that's often being raised by the macho warrior culture heathen bullshit is whether or not you need to train to be a capable fighter as part of your heathen faith. Is that something that is a part of the religio culture? Is it an important thing? Is the question I think needs to be asked here.
On that,
can you repeat that? I don't think I understood what you were saying.
Okay, the question is not. So you're saying that you're willing to spend your life to defend your people, but is it also imperative on you to train to preserve that life and not try to spend it, but try to spend the lives of those that are harming you? To actually go out of your way to gain some sort of, skill that's going to be applicable if you ever get put in that situation. That's the question that I'm getting at. Is the religious culture one that would require those that are capable to try to gain some sort of martial skill?
I don't think we live in a world where that's necessary. Not because you shouldn't learn how to defend yourself, but because we live in a world where you can defend yourself from 20 feet away.
It's a different set of skills, but it's still a set of skills.
It is, but what I'm saying is you don't have to go out and take mixed martial arts courses to defend yourself. I did that and I fucked up my ankle. You will get hurt.
Let's be honest here, one of the biggest threats is not necessarily physical, it's financial. It's, do you have enough money for a good lawyer to defend your, do you have good insurance? I think that those are also just as valid about protecting you and yours, is preparedness, and not from a crazy prepper point of view, but from a point of view of just, do you have what you need in case something happens?
Well, I think it all feeds back into the concept of, can you provide for your people?
Mm-hmm.
I spend a crap ton of time working so that I can provide for my people. The fact that I am so far away from work right now, notwithstanding. But is it also, we live in a world of standing army. We live in a world of standing police forces, standing defense forces in general. But do those standing defense forces, are they complete enough, I guess is the question. So do you need to... Sorry, go ahead, Toby.
The chances of full-fledged invasion from across the ocean in America today is very remote.
Okay. So
And-
I don't mean to interrupt you, and let me say this first, and if you were going to completely go where I'm going, then feel free to tell me to shut the fuck up. Hey, there it is. You guys were looking for it.
It's
We
not
already
even the
had
first
it.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Anyways, what I'm saying is I'm not talking about, a foreign invader here.
Mhm.
And I'm not even talking about the prepper standpoint of we're going to have to, take up arms against our government because, let's face it, we can have assault rifles. They've got F-16s. But what I'm talking about is, sure, we have the cops, but how quick are the cops going to get there when somebody's breaking into your home? Things like that. Are these things that, from a, heathen moral standpoint, I guess I should say that you should be prepared for?
From a moral standpoint in heathenry, absolutely. Being prepared for them, not being prepared for them is quite potentially very damaging to the tribe, and what is bad for the tribe is bad.
Bad for everyone.
I mean,
So,
I keep a shotgun by my bed. I know how to use it. I know how to clean it. I have never fired it. I hope I am lucky enough to never have to fire it. Other than that, I'm willing to use it in certain circumstances. I, the I'm willing to defend my home and my property. I'm willing to defend my family and their property. I don't know that anything beyond that is particularly necessary. It could be a good thing. It could lead you to physical fitness. It can lead you to responsibility. It can lead you to, finding a hobby that you pursue and love. But that doesn't make you better than anyone else just because you choose to pursue your life in a particular manner. I mean, it just is. It just is. And at the end of the day, if I stand here and say I am capable of protecting my home and family, or at least have the courage enough to do my best to do so, what more can you ask of me? And what more do you have the right to ask of me?
so I do want to kind of redirect here. We've all established that those of us that are here are willing to fight. But I don't know of any of us who are claiming the title of warrior. A willingness and ability to fight doesn't make you a warrior.
Absolutely not.
No.
I don't even think that my time in the military made me a warrior. It made me capable of being a warrior, but I never was tested.
On that note, there's been a couple of things that come up in the subreddit, and I think this is one that comes up oftentimes in line with the whole brosa true, dude, I'm a warrior thing, is striving to end up in a specific afterlife. And, in this case, I'm talking about I'm going to go to Valhalla, guys.
I've already stated on this show before, my total plan is to become a really annoying DCer. I think that's the greatest afterlife, but I just, and that's another thing, and I don't know if Torin and Toby are going to agree with me on this, but I would say that I have seen, that's a big shift I had seen in heathenry over the past 10, 15 years. Going from that focus of being very God-focused and very afterlife-focused to very not. I mean, the conversation, I almost felt like I was back, with what church do you go to? So who's your full true? That conversation, I had that conversation with about 1 million people at Truthmoot 1 year, a long time ago. And now that wouldn't even be a question I would even think to ask anybody. It's just not something that's a thing.
Yeah, but those who do go full true are like vegans. They let you know.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they let you know just to say, don't ask me about it anymore.
I've run across that more times than not, actually.
Yeah.
They're like, this is what I am, stop bugging me.
You got your vegans, your CrossFitters, and your poultry.
And spiritual but not religious crowd.
Oh,
Oh,
fuck
I
them.
guess
Uh,
I guess Mark wants to segue.
I didn't even realize Mark was audible in this show. That's
I am. I'm
fantastic.
here tonight. I'm
That's
Yes.
great.
watching.
So I think to answer that question, I want to say we should probably do a show about death and the afterlife.
Yeah.
And
Probably.
Yes.
I do want to give because I have an outlook that I haven't really seen mirrored here. And that's just because the conversation doesn't come up much. I don't think about the afterlife. The afterlife isn't a goal. It's something out of my hands. I don't control it. My only goal is to make my descendants' lives better than mine was.
you're also in your late 20s. Those of us who are older than you probably have thought about our afterlife as we've put family members into hell, into the ground, buried our ancestors, and had one or two brushes with death, and then you think about it.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know, strangely, Toby, I think about that less as time goes on. The more people I put in the ground, the more brush with death I have. I think less and less about the afterlife.
Well, that's because you've already decided. We've talked about this in the past, and again, this is good for the a different show. That's another show to quote Good Eats, but you've already done that processing and kind of come to a place where you're comfortable, and so now you don't.
I mean, I am at the point in my life right now where I am having, where I have had those pretty significant brushes with my own mortality when it comes to my health, and I actually think those experiences make peace with it a lot quicker than anything else. And quite frankly, I just don't care. It is. And yes, I've spent time thinking about it, and then okay, that's great. I'm actually more thoughts about. I wonder which one of my female ancestors actually are DC'er, because that will make sure I'm getting good advice. But beyond that, whatever, it's death comes for us all, and
Well,
I'm not necessarily too excited for it to happen, but
I know I've discussed with all of you privately in the past what my general views in the afterlife are, and I will be undoubtedly forced to finally bring those up publicly when we do an afterlife episode. But let's just put it this way, trying to specifically answer that question for me about the whole, hey bro, let's go to a holla thing, for me that's kind of like asking a Catholic about being one of the 144,000 getting into Mormon heaven. It's just the wrong question for my tribal thew. It just does not work.
no, that's the 144,000 is the Jehovah's Witnesses, I thought.
Yeah, okay.
That makes it even better. That makes it even better.
The Mormons are the one that get their own planet.
That's right.
Oh, that was
I brought you up.
beautiful.
The fact that I know for certain we have former Catholics and former Mormons, and I'm pretty sure some former Jehovah's Witnesses in the audience.
Oh,
That was for all of you.
I totally was like, where the hell is he going with this? And I
But
tipped
you know
my
what?
hat.
I may have mixed up the whole Mormon and Jehovah's Witness thing, but I think the point was valid.
I think that what it comes down to is I want to agree with the question that came off IRC with the fact that the person basically said, wouldn't that person be missing the point of heathenry? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't
Missing
know.
a point.
Missing a point is
If you make that your focus of heathenry, I just feel like you're just dragging Christianity over and putting Odin on it.
and absolutely I agree with you. But in the context of the question, if I ask you, hey, what do you think of the afterlife, and I give you my answer, and I've already given the IRC my answer on what I think about the afterlife and my death. And then you go, well, you're missing the point. And I was like, no, you just asked me for this one
No.
specific piece.
I apologize. The original question being, the people who focus on where you're going in the afterlife and going to Valhalla, aren't they missing the point?
Yes.
So I apologize, I wasn't clear enough on that.
Well, yeah, they're absolutely missing the point. The afterlife just doesn't fucking matter. It is what it is, and there's not a damn thing you can do to affect it. I know that the various folks out there that believe in the whole warrior's death, die in battle, go to Valhalla, theoretically you could affect it, somehow there, but for the most part there's nothing we can really do about it. We don't have a doctrine of salvation like the Christians do, and to be honest with you, I think that's where this obsession comes from. It is a holdover from Christianity, where it is an afterlife-focused religion. You are more worried about what happens after you die than what you're doing when you're alive.
I agree with you.
I think you see it a lot in documentaries too, as people refer to Valhalla as the Viking heaven, and that colors the way people approach things.
And I think it also comes from the fact that we're trying to figure these things out. We're dealing with these concepts. Our ancestors had grown up in this worldview where when they die, they go into the mound, they become an ancestor, and they're still part of the tribe. And until such time as they're forgotten. And again, this comes down to, we need a whole show for this, because I would like to talk about things like the Iliad and the Odyssey, and talking about a man's fame, cattle die, kinsmen die, that piece, and how important that is for understanding what it means to be remembered. But go ahead.
So I want to segue us here, because I think we beat all of that with very big sticks. Toby, there's something very specific that you wanted to bitch about.
Okay.
As the boss, I'm going to go ahead and say, you bitch about it, and we'll either disagree or agree or whatever, but get it off your chest. It's not healthy.
Spirituality is bullshit. And I mean that in and it's a very provocative statement, and I mean it to be very provocative. Spirituality is bullshit. There is a wonderful meme going on that's been going on for years. Religion is like a penis. It's great that you have one, but keep it in your pants. And that's absolutely wrong. It's absolutely bass-ackwards. The spirituality is like a penis. It's great that you have one. Put it in your pants. Religion is something we do with other people. Spirituality is something we do with the people, with very few people, very select people, and we talk about those things. When you talk about I'm spiritual but not religious, what you basically mean is I want to feel good about myself without having to do the work. I want to have I want to diet. I want to have. Let me back up, because there, as always, somebody has said it far better than I've ever said, than I could ever say it. Robert Heinlein spoke of most people. He says most people want to have written. They don't actually want to write. To say you're spiritual but not religious means that you want to have a religion without actually being religious.
Okay, so I have to disagree with you on one level, because I think this is because of the background I come from. There are a lot of people who I personally know who identify as spiritually not religious solely because religion has done something very dark and abusive to them. I'm one of them. I consider myself religious, don't get me wrong, but I identified as, I struggled with identifying as religious because it's hard to consider yourself part of something that deeply scarred and hurt you. So I think there's legitimacy in some people that say it because they just don't want to identify with something that fucks their life up.
Well, I mean, I can get the desire for that, and even idea of spending a certain amount of time, away from religion without, abandoning the roots of what got you into religion in the first place. But there comes a certain point where I'm not get over it is the wrong term, but you have to come to terms with it. You have to come to fucking grips with it and live with the fact that yes, a religion or even a specific little religious group did bad things, but you can't continue to think that you're going to get the benefits of something when you're not actually working towards it, or when you don't even know what that something is.
I guess to me, I'm not going to tell someone how to process. And that comes from my own experiences with what I went through with, specifically what I went through with my own upbringing. Because it took me damn near 20 years to finally get to the point that I was no longer angry about it. But I don't know. That's because I have a hard time with that. That being said, there's a subset of people who are spiritual but not religious, who are kind of like the very first worst of eclectic Wicca. To cite someone else, the Chinese food, the Chinese menu religious beliefs. Yeah, I'll take a god from over here and a goddess from over there, and yeah, can I get an egg roll and some fried rice?
So, the in your example, which I would hesitate to say is perhaps the bog standard for the spiritual, not religious crowd. There are individual exceptions. Like I've said repeatedly, my politics end at the inner yard. When I walk in the room and somebody's having a moment in their process, like I'm giving up on religion because I'm spiritual, I'm not going to maintain ideological purity by saying, no, you're wrong. I'm just going to go, how can I help you? Because that person is far more important to me than any stupid ideal that I've come up with.
Thank you.
That being said, that doesn't mean I'm not right here.
I do not think you're completely right. I think that you're partially right.
Michael Drobin, I believe is his first name, wrote a phenomenal piece in called "Spirituality: The New Opiate," and I actually have a copy. It's phenomenal in that it nails this concept because, like exercise, like playing a guitar, like learning a language, like doing work, like anything, it involves pain. You have to undergo pain in order to grow.
Well, you should also point out that there is a huge difference between the class of person that Lauren was talking about, the person who has been damaged by religion, and your average, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, and let me tell you why vaccines are terrible and are going to destroy the world, and here's this homeopathic remedy, and climate change isn't real.
Speaking of, real quick, I overheard tonight that global warming is due to the human vibration.
So it's overpopulation.
Yeah, or something along those lines.
Anyway.
Okay, all I'm going to say is I think what you guys are calling spiritual but not religious in your experience is what, in my experience here in the Deep South, or the Mid-South, we would call eclectic. And that may be our disconnect here, because spiritual not religious tends to be those people who just don't want to go to church because they've had sucky things happen, or don't want to get involved with the group because sucky things have happened. Whereas around here, what you guys are describing are what I would describe as eclectics, which drive me up the... I can't use the F word because we've already used it twice, so...
3 times.
Well, fuck, then. Drive me up the fucking wall. Because, Princess Moonbeam Sunblast Ugh, sorry.
Yeah, but these people exist. This archetype of people, this mold, this classification, this label.
Yeah.
People with Valknut tattoos, the spiritual but not religious crowd, exist in every religion. When I grew up Catholic, I met so many people that said, "Oh, you're Catholic. I grew up Catholic. I'm not really religious anymore. I'm more of a spiritual person. I like to think about that God is out there and that He has our best interests in at heart, and I that just makes me feel better. And it's about really that's what a religion is about, right? Making yourself feel better. No, it's about develop. It depends on whether or not you are a world-rejecting religion or a world-accepting religion. But for me, religion is about the proper application of ritual in order to maintain the gift cycle, in order to keep the sun coming up every day.
But at the same time, you have to agree that some people see religion as world rejecting because that's their only frame of reference. Because most people, their reference point is the overculture.
Individuals, there are exceptions and individuals in every situation, and again I fall back to if they are in my yard and I
Right.
care about them, then I am not going to rub their face in the poo that I consider.
I guess I've never met a heathen that was spiritual but not religious. That's not something that's ever crossed my threshold. I can honestly say that that's not something that's ever come into my purview. Most of the people that I know could better be defined as eclectic pagans.
I think you need to cut
I
like locks of hair and sell them for luck, because you are very, very lucky.
Once again, very small heathen community here.
okay,
Super
I don't feel
selective
like
about who I talk to.
I don't feel like getting up and going across the room to get the popcorn, so I'm just gonna eat peanuts for this conversation.
I'm just listening. Like,
Like I said, but that is a big part of some of these discussions we do have, because we do have very different experiences. What happens in heathenry in Arkansas versus what happens in heathenry in Hipsterville are two different things. I'm more, I would argue that the Brositru Valhalla warriors, those are the ones that I deal with a lot more than the, oh, I'm spiritual but not religious.
I'm going to be
mean,
straight up with you here. They're the same thing.
I was going to say they are heathenry, spiritual, not religious.
Okay. Well, then I can get with you there. That's where I was missing, because the way Toby was talking, all I can think about are when I would go to the general neo-pagan meetups and I would have the love and light and touchy-feely, homeopathic remedies people. And I'm like, I've never encountered one of those in heathenry. Most of the time we chew those people up and spit them out.
Yeah,
I'm just you know how many
there are
times
no
I've been
crystal
yelled
bunch of
at about
hippies.
chemtrails and heathen groups?
Now, I'm just gonna say this, that there is a major heathen organization out there who has a article on their website called "Vaccination: The Venom of Jorgamander."
Oh yeah. I got
So
about a
I am
third of the
wrong.
way. I got about a third of the way through that article, and I just no, I wasn't getting paid to read that stupid.
All right, so hopefully everyone has been thoroughly entertained by Toby and Lauren yelling at each other for the last 10 minutes.
But see, okay, this is what I love though about this podcast and about us, is that Toby and I can yell at each other for 10 minutes and then, okay, that's funny, let's go on to something else. And there's no like, oh my God, I hate you. Oh my God, you disagreed with me and you suck. Because, God,
We really need to get a guest on here we can hate.
I know.
Just for the novelty of it.
Really? And I'm absolutely
I don't think anyone's going to agree to come on the show to get yelled at.
I don't know, we might
Well,
find like
there are certain types of people.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But
Well, we can find, that rare beast that is both Brositru, but also thinks that, waking up in the morning is a battle he fights every day. We can convince that guy to come on.
I'm
Rare
sure.
breed.
Just
Rare
go to just go to Facebook. There's probably 20 of them that would come on.
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
go
I
to
forgot
the big ostrich group on Facebook. We could probably get a line.
I forgot the qualification. It also has to be able to clearly speak English.
Yeah. Well,
So we've got 10 minutes left in the show.
Fair enough. We got some questions. I think we tried to answer them, although I don't think we ever got to this one, which goes back to our first segment. Sigurkar, how does the idea of the gods aren't frozen in time over Europe work with modern communication technologies? Trying to think of how to elaborate without... And he goes on, in person only for forming bonds might be related to that idea. So
I have no idea what just got asked.
okay, so Toby and I argued about whether or not you can form meaningful bonds virtually outside of the concept of, online bloat, which we all agree is stupid, and online kindreds. But just the friendship and whatnot.
Okay, yeah, you can form meaningful bonds, online. You just can't form tribe online because there's an element of mutual support that doesn't exist.
However, to answer the question,
Which
the
I
point of
still-
this segment,
I didn't process what was being asked. That's what I was trying to get. Somebody actually explain what just the hell just got asked.
Yeah.
what just got asked is, if I'm reading this correctly, does the fact that we practice heathenry here in America, where it was never really practiced in ancient times, unless you count Leif, and I'm not. Was he heathen or was he Christian? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, how does that jive with the fact that heathenry is a religion of the land, and those our gods are gods of European lands?
Imminent.
Did we bring them with us, or what's up?
Well, the gods are gods of the world. In fact, Freyr is one of his bynames is God of this world. I've been harping on this concept, and Torrin and I have been banding this around for a while. It's heathenry isn't a single cult, isn't a single cultus. It's a series of layers. You have your ancestor cult, you have your house cult, which actually ranks below that. House cult and then ancestor cult, because you can have multiple houses all worshiping the same ancestors because you're a set of related families. And then above that you have your tribal cult, and above that I don't really think it gets above that. I think the tribe is the largest unit that is functional in terms of a mytho-religious entity.
Right. People talk about gods of the land as like, I don't think that in the sense that people usually think of when they say the word gods. I don't think we have gods of the land. We have the small gods, but when people say the gods, they're talking about Odin, Thor, Freya, etc., etc. I don't think that they are directly tied to the land. That's why there are other beings that have that function.
They are the Jinn holy ones that I have used that comes from the same root as Ganunagap.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
And maybe my understanding is a bit different than other people's, but I've always thought of them as the gods were, in a way, the natural forces. And those forces are not something that's just, it doesn't only thunderstorm in Europe. It doesn't, they are natural forces and kind of universal forces that you experience not just, in one place, but everywhere.
I mean, to me, I look at it more the way that, they created Midgard. And there's absolutely no reason to think that then they suddenly confine themselves to one small portion of it. But on the flip side, we do have our, other local gods that we worship. the Icelanders, I don't know if this works into their worship. I just know it's part of the mythos up there of the land. Is they have their whites at the four corners. You know, and sitting here in Cascadia, I'm not about to make an offering to the eagle in the east. Because I'm not in Iceland. But on the flip side, both myself and somebody over in Iceland might find ourselves bloating to Odin.
Yeah.
It's because, like I said, they didn't suddenly confine themselves to one small section of the entirety of Midgard that they created.
So to get back to the question, if the gods aren't frozen in time, how does this communication technology? What we hope to do with the podcast and the subreddit and our personal blogs and all that is to communicate these ideas, but the ideas are potential. They're potential, energy. They're not. There isn't a reality to them until you take these ideas and you manifest them in actual action. And the action that we take is the thing that grants reality to certain aspects. And this actually gets onto a soapbox of mine that I've been noodling for a while, which comes down to our ancestors had this concept that everything had a physical item associated with it, had a physicality, like a material being. The arm rings that we talk about as a ring giver were the actual tokens, the anchors for the relationship between a man and his lord. In Germany, as late as the 1500s, but this goes way back into antiquity, when you engaged in an actual estate sale, like you were going to sell land to another person, there would be an exchange of tokens, and tokens was negligible. It was a coin, a pin, a knife, a glove, all these little tokens. But the token was kept in trust until the transaction was complete. So the token became the anchor for which this agreement occurred. Marcel Mauss's The Gift is where I'm getting most of this as a source, since I can cite my source. So what I suspect, and we often talk about the concept of hierophanies in Eliade, is the concept of when an idol awakens and when an idol becomes manifest to a divine power, it becomes the seat of that power, and it becomes the anchor to which this concept, this God being makes itself manifest. And these locations and these places become physical manifestations of the divine. And so there is a reality to it, and no amount of technology can change the fact that we only consider things to be real when there's an actual action that occurs in reality.
What? We're running out of time, actually. So anyway, that's a topic for a longer show, because we got 2 minutes and we need to do a little housekeeping before we close down. So I want to congratulate Alex Houghton again, our winner this week for the copy of Saga of Six Sagas of Adventure by Ben Wagner. Please get a hold of us so that we can get that sent out to you. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Heathen Talk. Also, Twitter @Heathen_Talk. And Josh, anything else?
Yes. So we still need people to sign up for Cascadia Move. We had 2 more people sign up today.
Yay!
Who are in the area or going to be in the area, or going to fly out to the area, or whatever, go pre-register. It helps us make sure that we have enough money to make the event happen. Helps us make sure that Torin can make delicious stuff for you to imbibe in, and Toby can talk your ear off.
And hey, don't downplay the cooking. I know the cook. It's going to be freaking amazing.
He is an amazing cook.
I've eaten what he cooks, and even being lactose intolerant, only being able to eat like a little bit of it, it was really good. So, great food. Lauren is apparently going to... Go ahead.
No, finish that. Lauren's going to be here. We're going to do an episode of Heathen Talk Live. We have no idea what the topic is, but if you have a suggestion, let us know. But speaking of topics for Heathen Talk, what are we doing next week?
Next week is Heathen Art.
Two of my absolute favorite people in the world, Samuel Flegel and Brian Marshall, are going to be guests. They're amazing people, amazing heathens, and you should come visit and watch. And have Brian and Torin do a beard off. It's going to be amazing.
Also, want to remind you, if you are coming to Winter Moot coming up in Pawhuska, Oklahoma this weekend, come find me. I will have my Heathen Talk shirt on. Scotty Snook's going to be there. Ben's going to be there. So I really want to meet any of our listeners who are going to be there and look forward to seeing all of you and getting out of town this weekend.
And unless anyone else has something to pimp, I think you're doing it wrong.
You're not the boss of me.
But that's because you're on vacation.
I have no boss.
Josh is the boss. Y'all have a good week.
Bye.